I'm Mariana Van Zeller. As a correspondent, I've traveled around the globe and experienced many different beliefs and ways of life firsthand.
Do they create peace or do they create war?
We're sitting in a conflict.
It's a complex world, but hope begins when people can come together. And nothing brings people together more than great food. So I asked my friend, acclaimed chef Michael Voltaggio, to join me. We have one goal: to gather people from all sides of a conflict around the table.
How many Greek Cypriots have been shot on the Green Line? What are you talking about?
Turkish Cypriots were shot as well.
No, you're wrong.
And see if breaking bread can lead to breaking borders. The Mediterranean island of Cyprus is known as an exotic vacation destination. With a population of just under 1.2 million, it's home to two different ethnic groups: Muslim Turkish Cypriots and Christian Greek Cypriots, each with their own religion and language. Their ancestors may have come from the mainland of Greece or Turkey. However, now they all consider themselves Cypriots. But beneath the beautiful surface, tension lingers. For 40 years, UN peacekeepers have prevented fighting between the two sides. The largest city, Nicosia, is now the only divided capital in the world. When Cyprus got independence in 1960, a democratically elected government of Greek and Turkish Cypriots ruled the island, and the two ethnic groups lived together united, but only for 3 years. A political crisis erupted in 1963, and violence broke out, culminating in a military coup by Greek Cypriots in 1974. In response, the Turkish army invaded northern Cyprus on the pretext of protecting the Turkish Cypriots, and has remained ever since. Thousands fled their homes, and suddenly, the tiny country was split in two. The northern third inhabited by Turkish Cypriots and controlled by the Turkish army. The southern two-thirds inhabited by Greek Cypriots. The UN buffer zone, commonly called the Green Line, divides the parties. We're beginning our journey in Nicosia to meet a Greek Cypriot journalist, Konstantinos, who wants to show us what a divided country looks like.
You can see that the Cyprus and the Greek flag right at the end of the road. That's where the line is. That's the Greek outpost right there in the middle, yeah.
So it's right here in the center of town?
It's right here in the center, yeah, it divides the center in half.
Michael and I want to understand why several peace efforts have failed to reunify the island. We hope to gather people from both sides of this conflict for a meal in the very buffer zone that divides them. So right now we're standing on the Greek Cypriot side.
We're standing on the Greek Cypriot side. We're just meters away from the Turkish side. So we're actually standing at the point where people cross to the Turkish occupied part of the city.
So it's basically a shopping mall with a security checkpoint right in the middle, dividing two sides of it.
Right, divides two sides.
How does it make you feel when you have to cross this checkpoint?
I was born a year before the invasion. My parents were living in an area that's now occupied. It's strange to cross like a visitor because I actually feel like a tourist.
So your parents were forced out of their house?
Yeah, they were forced out of their house in '74, and they didn't actually take anything with them when they left. And it was really painful for them because they had to start a new life.
So do you think we can go and see
Yeah,
the
we
other
can
side?
cross.
In 2008, the Ledra Street crossing was opened, allowing Cypriots to travel between both halves of the city for the first time in over 30 years. Despite living in Nicosia, Konstantinos has rarely visited the Turkish half of the city and is unfamiliar with what lies on the other side of the border. So this is already right?
Yeah, this is the actual line.
I'm
If
on
you
the
stand
Cypriot.
there, you're on the Turkish side. If you stand there, you're on the Greek side. And I'm standing right in the middle. So there you have the division.
The border crossing splits the island in two. For Cypriots, it's a surreal situation, like having a checkpoint in the middle of your living room. Have your passports?
As long as you don't film the checkpoint, it's fine.
It's ID. We just went through border
Through
patrol, right?
passport control.
Passport control. They
You have to
actually
do-
stamped our passport.
Yeah, they stamp everything. This stamp is actually not recognized by Cypriot authorities.
So this stamp is actually not recognized by anyone except
By
for
anyone
Turkey.
except Turkey. If you travel through Turkey, they'll recognize it. No one else will. You've actually gone through an illegal country that's not recognized by the United Nations. It's not a member state of anything.
As we head deeper into the Turkish markets, the differences between the Greek and the Turkish sides of the city become more apparent.
This is
This
more
is very-
Arabic-like looking.
very completely.
Smoothly fabrics mixed with imitation bags and clothes and shoes. You can find everything this side. It's very cheap.
We went from a place where there's modern brands, you know, a shopping center, to a place that's very much like a Middle Eastern bazaar.
Oh, wow, and is that a Turkish army?
Yeah, it is.
Uniform for kids?
Yeah.
Would you spend money over here?
No, I would never spend money here because I feel like I'm betraying something. I feel my mom would say, "Oh, you bought something from the Turks." I say, "You bought something from people that took your home, that took your shops. You're like contributing to the people who invaded." This used to be a church, and it was turned into a mosque following the invasion.
So how does it make you feel to look at this and know that now this is a mosque?
Actually, it's the first time I've come here. It's where my parents were. It's where they lived and worked. You know, it's been taken from me, and it shouldn't be that way.
Does this make you feel angry at the Turkish government?
Well, it sort of does, because they're responsible for cutting my life in half and stopping me from enjoying my whole country. My life is defined by the invasion.
At the height of the tensions in 1974, Cyprus was the scene of a bloody battle where an estimated 6,000 people were killed, and up to 3,000 are still missing. Nicosia might look peaceful now, but the repercussions of the war still linger throughout the city. Konstantinos wants to take us to a place that saw some of the heaviest fighting.
This is another part of the buffer zone. This road separates the Greek from the Turkish side.
And it's just a couple of meters.
Yeah, it's just a couple of meters
wide.
wide. There used to be a Turkish outpost up there, and we can actually see the flags. This behind you is the Greek outpost, which is
Wow.
right next to the buffer zone.
So they're looking right at each
They're
other.
looking right at each other. It used to be very dangerous. That's why I'm a bit aware here.
There's actually a security camera right there.
Yes, there is.
So
There's-
it means that they're
they're
they can be
looking
looking
down
at what
into
we're
the
doing.
area.
So you don't feel very comfortable standing right here?
There's always danger if you have military around, even if it's not visible. It might appear safe, but sometimes it's not.
After touring this divided city, it's time to try some of the local cuisine.
This is one of the most famous restaurants in Nicosia, very well known for its Cyprus delicacies. Yeah, let's have a sit. There are many little dishes. This is kolokasi in Cyprus. It's like sweet potato, and these are stuffed vine leaves. They're traditional sausages. This is lamb. That's one of my favorites.
And traditionally the food here is basically meze,
Yeah.
or a collection of little dishes. Obviously this is a meat-centric
Yeah, it's a
meze
meat
presentation.
Exactly.
So this is lamb.
That's called tava. It's actually a Turkish word
Tava.
that we kept.
This is delicious.
This is halloum.
It's halloumi, traditional Cyprus cheese.
Was this actually created here?
Yeah, it's created here in Cyprus. The wasp won't leave us alone. This is a very traditional restaurant, so even wasps like the food here.
It's not a wasp, it's like a war pilot. It's like...
You're not going to get our food.
Oh, now he's just pissing it off. Now he's just making it mad. I think all he did was just make it mad now.
Yeah. So, Michael, what did you think of it?
The idea of meze, it's not just about eating, but it's the social aspect of getting all these little dishes on the table and passing them around and talking about them. I don't feel like I've only had a little snack. I feel like I've had something more than just a
And
meze.
you're full up, exactly. Yeah. Cheers. Yamas, as we say.
After sampling some Cypriot meze, we're heading south to the city of Larnaca to meet our first dinner guest. Kostas is a journalist who has covered the conflict for 20 years.
So you're actually a Greek Cypriot.
I'm a Cypriot. So I'm saying I'm a Cypriot because I'm a citizen of the Republic of Cyprus, which includes Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots.
So when the conflict started in the 60s and then later with the occupation in the 70s, there was a lot of hate between the two groups. Do you think that still exists? Is it still like that?
I don't think there was widespread hate between the two communities. There was hate between the nationalists on both sides. That's true.
How do you feel about Turkey?
I consider Turkey to be my oppressor.
So what would you like to see happen here?
Let me start. First, the Turkish army has to withdraw. It's an illegal invasion and their presence is illegal. Secondly, the settlers they brought in, they have to take them with them. Thirdly, the Turkish Cypriots have to be liberated from the presence of the Turkish army and the political influence of Ankara. And fourthly, then they can discuss and debate with the Greek Cypriots a new sort of formula for their own coexistence.
To Greek Cypriots like Kostas, the Turkish army's presence in the north is the reason the conflict continues today. Many believe that the local government in northern Cyprus is merely an extension of Turkey. Frightening reminders of the war are everywhere, and we're heading to another one now. Nicosia Airport, an eerie place, frozen in time. Legends say the beautiful island of Cyprus is the birthplace of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. But the relationship between the Greek and Turkish Cypriots is far from a loving one. We're heading into the UN buffer zone to Nicosia Airport. On July 23, 1974, just days after war broke out, the airport found itself at the center of the fighting between Greek and Turkish forces. Civilians traveling from all around the world were caught up in the battle. UN peacekeeping forces intervened and succeeded in bringing all passengers safely out of harm's way. What was once a bustling modern airport today is like a ghost town. The United Nations has been in control of the airport for the last 40 years. We've come here to be given a special tour by a captain in the UN peacekeeping force.
Here you have the stairs for the cafeteria.
You can actually see some bullet holes on the window. Is that from the fighting?
Some of the windows are broken. On the up of the buildings, it seems like bullet holes.
These probably too. Do you see the brown ones here?
the small
That's
one,
bullet hole. Whoa. This
It's not
is
possible to see
wild.
from this side.
See the posters? The coffee shop, all departures, with toilets. This is so wild. And the skylights. It is very reminiscent, though, of the 60s and 70s, right?
When the battle happened here, was the airport open? There were passengers here?
The terminal at the time was full of passengers. That's why also UN negotiated and declared the UNPA here.
That's so crazy. So they're coming to check onto a plane, take a flight, and all of a sudden war breaks out in the middle of the airport.
Huge evacuation here.
So they actually evacuated
People
everyone who
from
was
this.
from the airport, at the
Yeah.
airport.
It's pretty nuts, because airports are like the busiest places you can ever go. And this thing is just empty.
It's a ghost town. It's also like time stopped.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the kitchen.
Oh, the kitchen.
It's a French island suite that they have in the middle of the kitchen here. They were cooking serious food here at the airport. Is that a plane over there?
Yes, it's Cyprus Airways Trident, and we will go there now.
Let's go try and catch our flight.
What's striking about this airport is that it's a reminder that violence can happen anywhere, anytime, even in the most unlikely of places. The last commercial planes left the airport in 1977 under UN authorization. However, one jet remains.
This is the only plane left. It's here because during the conflict it was shot to cockpit, so the avionics was destroyed.
You can clearly see the bullet holes on the back, on the tail. Cyprus Airways. What do you think would happen if the UN were to leave this location?
UN is here based on Security Council mandate. If there is no mandate, UN will just leave, and then it's on communities to solve how we'll use this.
Nicosia Airport is not the only unresolved territory in Cyprus. Our next stop is another casualty of the Turkish invasion, the ghost town of Famagusta. We're driving 50 miles down the border between the Greek Cypriot and the Turkish-controlled part of the island. Famagusta was once one of the most glamorous resorts in the Mediterranean. Its miles of white sand and turquoise water made it a destination for the jet-setters in the 70s, attracting thousands of visitors every year. But during the Turkish invasion, the city was bombed. And since 1974, it's been sealed off and left to crumble into ruins. Now controlled by Turkey, no one is allowed to enter. The whole city is guarded by Turkish troops, and there are signs making it clear it's a no-go zone. We're joining Christos, a local fisherman, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious and battered city.
Hi guys.
Hello, how are you? I'm Mariana.
Hello Mariana. Jump on the boat.
Christos. Should I come this way?
Yeah, come this way. Come this way.
Thank you.
You like it?
It's fun. Really is fun, yeah.
Christos is taking us fishing up the coast to the Turkish border, in the buffer zone at sea.
So what fish are you fishing for in the bay over here?
Very seasonable now.
Okay.
Like in June, we have the tuna. Now red mullet, red snapper, October and November, calamari. It's very seasonable. We follow season. You can see the UN there.
The White House?
Yeah, UN. Further down is the Turkish army.
See that sign? So right now we're entering the buffer zone.
Well, guys, we are here.
So that watchtower there belongs to the
Yeah,
Turkish side
army,
already.
yeah.
So it looks like there are people there.
This is 24 hours.
They're always there?
Yeah.
So is there reason to worry because they're right
If
there?
you go through the balloons there, yes.
So you're not allowed to go through?
No, you're not allowed.
What can happen?
The Turkish army with the boats, they come and take you, arrest you.
So that watchtower there belongs to the
Yeah,
Turkish side
army,
already.
yeah.
So it looks like there are people there.
This is 24 hours.
They're always there?
Yeah.
So is there reason to worry because they're right
If
there?
you go through the balloons there, yes.
So you're not allowed to go through?
No, you're not allowed.
What can happen?
The Turkish army with the boats, they come and take you, arrest you. There was many incidents like that with fishermen trying to go in and get some more fish.
It's a little eerie to be in the middle of the sea with like soldiers over there with, guns and binoculars and all that stuff. And it's like you're out here fishing, just having a good time, and you're like under surveillance the entire time.
Beyond the buffer zone on the Turkish side, we can see the now deserted but still guarded seaside resort town in the distance.
Is that
This is the
Famagusta?
Famagusta. This is the part of the dark side of our lives. In 74, when there was the invasion, the people, they just got afraid and then they ran away. And then they thought they're going back and they never been back.
That entire stretch of land with all those
Yeah.
hotels and buildings,
Nobody.
You can't go in and out of that.
No.
I mean, you look out there and you see all those buildings and it's so
It's a
hard to
massive,
believe
big
that
city.
no one lives there.
Are they going to give back? Not back? This for 30 years now. And it's still there, ghost town.
What was that city like back in the 70s before?
Well, my father, they had a very good life there. Amazing. He was very advanced. Even in restaurants, in bars, everything.
And your dad hasn't been there in over 30 years?
No, my dad, he passed away in '99 with this dream to go there.
Under the watchful eyes of the Turkish military, we help Christos pull up the nets.
Mike, take it out from the net, eh?
Oh, wow. Just like that, you've got cuttlefish.
Yeah. Mike, funny, huh?
It's needlefish.
Yeah.
With today's catch piled up on board, it's time to head back for a special seafood lunch, courtesy of Christos.
Michael, you gonna help a little bit?
Whatever you need.
Okay, let's go.
Whatever you need.
Listen, most important ingredient there is ouzo. Here. Ouzo.
This is for me. I thought it was for the shrimp.
Hey, after.
I can get used to this lifestyle.
Yeah? Nice, eh?
So you're making like a shrimp saganaki.
Yeah. Saganaki, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like a tomato sauce?
Yeah. Spicy tomato.
So onions, garlic, pepper flakes,
Yeah.
ouzo, and your special tomato sauce that you're not
Yeah.
going to give me the recipe for.
Nearly ready. Ouzo, another shot.
Yeah, we should, right?
Have a cheers. Yeah, man. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too, brother.
Good. Waiters! Ade.
So you start with the salad?
Yeah.
What else is on the table? Tell me the shrimp saganaki in the
The one we
kitchen.
made, yeah. This is very delicate taste as well. This octopus cooked in red wine. Old people found a way to save it because they didn't have fridges and all this stuff. They cook it in wine, put it in jars.
It's like an octopus that's been
Yeah.
preserved in,
Yeah.
in red wine.
And this is the best part for me, my favorite part. This is baby red mallets, deep fried.
I don't know if I want to eat it or make out with it.
Yeah, I love that we pass fish on hand in hand.
It's always hand to hand. Food
Wait.
brings people together.
Cheers.
Of course.
Cheers.
I have to say, this is the most inspired
But you look.
I've gotten from a simple meal in a long
It's a
time.
secret.
You don't have to manipulate it too much because the beauty is actually in the natural ingredients themselves. And really, you
don't
just
need
have
too
to
much help.
heat them up, dress them a little sea salt and olive oil, put it on the plate, send it out. It doesn't get much better than this.
And enjoy it with good company.
An amazing meal and a new friend. Near a city once vibrant that is somehow now going to waste. It's time for us to go into the Turkish-controlled part of the island. Again, we have to show our passports to cross the border. Before the Turkish invasion in 1974, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots lived side by side all across the island. After Turkey's invasion, their military took control of the northern part of the island. Turkish Cypriots soon fled their homes in the south to seek refuge with the occupying Turkish army. This led to even further divisions in an already polarized country. Since then, about 100,000 additional Turkish nationals from Turkey have also settled on the island. A migration from an occupying country that the UN deems a war crime under the Geneva Convention. Our Greek Cypriot guide, Konstantinos, has rarely visited the Turkish-controlled area, so we have arranged for a Turkish Cypriot local to guide us on this side of the border.
Hello, Dervish.
Hello, welcome.
We just crossed the border.
Yes.
Suddenly, our cell phones that we had don't work here in the
Okay,
north.
that's true.
The currency is different. The language is different.
Yes.
Where are we right now?
We are still in Cyprus.
So you still consider this part of Cyprus?
Yes.
And the reason why we need to switch to you is because you've never, almost never been
the
here.
languages, so I can't communicate with anyone here. I don't have a car here. The license plates are different, the security is different, the insurance. So I can't freely move around here without doing other arrangements.
So thank you so
thank you.
much. I will see you later today, and we're going to be in good hands with you.
Absolutely.
We're heading to Kyrenia to meet our second dinner guest, Sami, a Turkish Cypriot journalist who has covered the conflict from this side of the border for over 20 years. But as we get into our conversation, we discover that our guide, Dervish, has some very strong views of his own. So we invite him to our dinner as well. All the Greek Cypriots that we've been talking to have told us, or have referred to the north as an occupied land. Would you consider this an occupation by Turkey?
I wouldn't, myself. I wouldn't want to call it occupation.
Turkey came here to protect Turkish Cypriots. We are from the same ethnical community background.
So you're being protected by Turkey?
Of course. Of course.
And so you think you're under threat if Turkey were to leave?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what do you think would happen if
and-
Turkey were to leave?
Nothing. As I said,
You don't agree?
I don't agree.
Why?
Because I had bitter experience in the past.
Have you ever been attacked in your lifetime?
Yes. My father was the headmaster of a school. And next night, our area was attacked and we had to leave. I was a child by Greek Cypriots. who used to be very respectful to my father. Next day they became enemies all of a sudden. More than 100 villages were attacked, Turkish villages. Their nationalists are very dangerous.
All Turkish army can go back tomorrow. I support, and the main goal, main target of the United Nations is find a solution in Cyprus with a federal state, both sides.
Without a solution, there is no point for the Turkish army to leave. I'll keep it as simple as that.
What happens when you say this in public in front of a Greek Cypriot?
I say it in front of everybody.
So you will be saying these things at dinner with us as well?
Yes, of course.
Are you
In a
afraid at all
diplomatic
about
way.
what the reactions might be? Because
That doesn't
obviously they
matter.
feel very differently.
It doesn't matter. That's my view. I respected his view, he respected my view. I respect your view. They have to learn how to respect different ideas. Very simple.
I hope everybody respects each other's views.
Inshallah.
It's interesting to hear this different perspective on the presence of the Turkish army in Cyprus. Dervish does not see it as an occupation, but as a peacekeeping effort. Not all Turkish Cypriots share this view. We're traveling through the northern Turkish-controlled part of Cyprus. We've heard that some Turkish Cypriots welcome the Turkish army as peacekeepers. However, in 2011, almost 80,000 Turkish Cypriot protesters took to the streets, demanding the reunification of Cyprus. They condemned the economic, cultural, and social oppression by Turkey. We're on our way to meet a famous editor and his daughter, who is a columnist. He runs the second largest newspaper on the Turkish Cypriot side. But in contrast to other newspapers, his criticizes the Turkish presence on the island. And as a result, he has been attacked several times. You are quite controversial as a journalist here, is that correct?
Gazeteyi yayınladığımızdan beri biz Kıbrıs'ın mevcut gerçeklerini en açık bir dille yazıyoruz.
Since we started publishing the newspaper, we are writing the reality of Cyprus in the most open way.
Bu gerçekler nelerdir? Kıbrıs 40 yıldır Türkiye'nin işgali altındadır. 40 yıldır. Burada ilan edilmiş olan bu devlet, dünyada hiç kimse tarafından tanınmayan hayali bir devlettir. 40.000 kadar Türk askeri vardır. Burası Türkiye'nin idaresi altındadır.
So even though Turkey calls this an independent state, it really isn't. It's just part of Turkey.
Tabii Türkiye'nin bir parçası olmuş durumdadır yani.
But there's Turkish flags outside. If somebody blindfolded me and put me on an airplane and dropped me off here, and I took off that blindfold and I looked up, I would think I was in Turkey.
You don't need to assume it. You are in Turkey.
Okay. So you would like for it all to be united and to live under the European Union?
Mutlaka.
Yes, sure.
Mutlaka ben Kıbrıs'ın birleştirilmesinden yanayım.
So you're not a very liked man here.
Bize 2 defa bomba attılar.
But this place was
2 defa da
shotgunned.
kurşunlandı burası.
Shot at?
Shot at,
Bu
yes.
oturduğumuz yer.
But it will not happen right this moment, don't worry. So you can be honest.
Ayrıca şu anda benim tabancam da var. Daha önce yoktu.
Now I have a gun. Before I didn't have a gun.
Do you really have a gun?
Yeah.
Who's shooting at you?
Türkiye'den gelen kiralık 2 şahıs.
After being shot at and bombed and imprisoned, why do you continue to do it?
Bunu tek bir şekilde yapabilirim, bırakabilirim. Eğer halk bu gazeteyi almaktan vazgeçerse ben de vazgeçeceğim.
We've heard that Turkey's army has stayed in Cyprus for 40 years to keep Turkish Cypriots safe. But Sener believes that Turkey's interest in the island is more than simply peacekeeping. Cyprus is at the crossroads of 3 continents and is very close to the Middle East. Its position makes it strategically valuable to Turkey. Before we leave the northern part of the island, our Turkish Cypriot guide wants to help us get a closer look at Famagusta. Konstantinos, our Greek Cypriot guide, has never seen the Forbidden City and wants to join us. I wonder if the sight of this guarded ghost town will create tension between our 2 companions. Famagusta, a town left in limbo on the Turkish-controlled side of Cyprus, is a place few people have been to since it was sealed off in 1974. So at the end of the 60s and beginning of the 70s, this was the place to come on vacation?
Absolutely.
celebrities, actors, musicians, everybody wanted to come here to this coast. And now it's a ghost town. No one lives there, no one is allowed to even go there except for Turkish military, right?
It is correct.
Yeah?
It's correct.
And why is that? Why hasn't that been rebuilt?
Turkish Cypriot side is using it as leverage during the negotiations. They will return it in return of something from the Greek side, coming to Turkish Cypriot side. And all these hotels will be returned to their original owners.
So it's a bargaining tool, but it's still
Yes.
extremely depressing to look
It
at.
is.
I know it makes you very sad.
It's just sad that a whole future was like destroyed in a single day. And everything has been left to completely wither and die. I mean, it's like having a treasure and burying it somewhere where it can never be found. It's just the feeling of death itself. This is the first time I'm here. So to see such a thing, to see a dead city, for me, I grew up in a bustling city. I grew up in Nicosia. I saw division, but never like this. Never a division like it's death.
I feel like ego is getting in the way of economics.
Probably
and
right.
There's an opportunity there to rebuild an entire beach resort, and maybe that'd be the start of rebuilding an entire country where there's a resolution.
Yeah, I think as third party, you can actually probably see much more clearer than we can.
It is very unpleasant to think about those days, to think about 15th of July 1974 when there was a coup in the island, which invited Turkey to interfere on the 20th of July. And this is the end result of those atrocities, of those days.
But does it make you sad to look at this?
Well, it doesn't look nice, to be honest. Surely it doesn't look nice. I wish there was no Cyprus problem anyway.
As the sun sets, I can't stop thinking about tomorrow's dinner. We've learned that under the surface of this idyllic island, decades of resentment still smolder. Up in the hills, a Turkish Cypriot flag glows, a reminder of the continuing divide. I'm worried, will this lingering anger boil over at our meal? It's the day of the dinner, and Michael is cooking in an unusual spot.
Tonight's meal is going to be in a place that's referred to as a buffer zone. Over there, you've got the Turkish occupied area of the island, and then the other side, obviously, the Greek part of Cyprus.
Several attempts at reunification have failed in the last 40 years. Most recently, in 2008, when both sides were unwilling to compromise. An agreement has yet to be reached. What does the future hold for Cyprus? Will it ever become a united island again? So as they say in Cyprus, what's cooking?
This is the livraki, which is sea bass from the Mediterranean. It's part of the meze, which means small taste. So I found the smallest sea bass I could find. Just stuffing it with bay leaf that's from the property here, some coriander, some lemon. Then I'm gonna grill it and then send it out to the table whole. I'm gonna do the saganaki, so hopefully I don't light everyone on fire. We go to the table, put the cheese on the table. Okay. Pour the ouzo on top of it, light it on fire, and eat it. But in this case, opa. I'll get out of here. I actually got work to do.
Dinner is almost ready, and our guests are arriving.
Thank you so much for coming.
Our Turkish Cypriot guide, Dervish, Turkish Cypriot columnist, Elvan, Greek Cypriot journalist, Kostas, Turkish Cypriot journalist, Sami, and our Greek Cypriot guide, Konstantinos.
Good evening. I've never done this before, so if anyone gets hurt, I apologize. This is a halloumi. And I believe we're supposed to say... Opa! That's halloumi with ouzo, saganaki. We have lamb tabas over there. Here we have charcoal potatoes. I pulled the ink sacs out of squid and crystallized it with salt on the outside of the potato. There's a green sauce made with coriander on the outside, so those are edible. And then last but not least, livraki, or sea bass. It's been char grilled and then baked in the oven with lemon, coriander, bay leaf from here on the property, and some caper berries on the side. The idea was to make a meze, put small snacks on the table for everyone to try, bring everyone together. Hope you enjoy it. That's it.
Wow. Nice. Cheers. First.
Cheers. Thank you.
I'll give you a big compliment. The lamb is better than my mother's. If a Cypriot tells you that your food is better than their mother's, that means it's brilliant.
Beautiful potato.
Those potatoes actually serve in my restaurant. That's the only dish that I actually make. Everything else is based on the ingredients that I found while I was here.
It tastes and looks very Cypriot. This is surprising as well for someone who's just
take a vote.
Just parachuted here a couple of
just
days ago.
parachuted here,
Let's
yes.
take a vote and to offer Michael the Cypriot citizenship.
Yes. Take it. It's a beautiful island. I'd love to be here.
So now that we've had the pleasant side of the meal, we'll start with the tough side of the meal. I've heard both sides. I've met all of you, and I've heard you both refer to it as an occupation and sort of a protection, security. What do you think it is?
I don't want to call it occupation or invasion. I call it perhaps intervention.
Costas, you've mentioned to me that it is an occupation, and so have you, Elvan. And your father, unfortunately, cannot be here today, and you're here to represent his views, but your father as well has talked about this as the Turkish presence here as an occupation.
Of course, I think it's an invasion or occupation. I mean, not only I think so, but the United Nations think so too.
I believe we have to go step by step. What made it an occupation? Okay, they didn't interfere and set up the peace and left. They stayed here, and we have a divided island.
Right now, you think it's important for Turkey and the Turkish military to be here?
Until there is a solution, yes.
Well, I'm very glad that the majority of the Turkish Cypriots do not agree with this view. They said at the time that their intention was to re-establish the status quo and then leave. They never left.
So did they create peace or did they create war?
They created a conflict. They created
Who created a conflict?
The Turks. They created a divided country.
Is there a bloodshed now? No.
But are they
What do you mean
maintaining
there's no
peace?
bloodshed?
We're sitting in a conflict. We're just sitting in the middle of it.
How many Greek Cypriots have been shot on the Green Line? What are you talking about?
Turkish Cypriots were shot as
I
well.
think Mariana went to that place where
you're
we had to
wrong.
go.
We're right in the middle of dinner, in the buffer zone, and already tempers are flaring.
No bloodshed.
We're sitting in a conflict. We're just sitting in the middle of
How
it.
many Greek Cypriots have been shot on the Green Line? What are you talking about?
Turkish Cypriots were shot as
I
well.
think Mariana went to that place where
you're
we had
wrong.
to
Dervish, you've been very open to us about what you think could happen to you if Turkey were to leave.
Yes. I remember those days in 1963, to be very honest. We call it Bloody Christmas, when Turkish Cypriots were attacked by Greek Cypriots. And more than 100 Turkish Cypriot villages were attacked and evacuated. Many mistakes were made. Learn from the mistakes so that we don't make them again.
So you think that the presence of Turkey here is important to protect you?
Absolutely, until there is a just and lasting solution.
Do you agree with that?
Of course not. Unless Turkey accepts the will of the international community that the Turkish invasion was legal, that the presence on the island is illegal, and until they respect the will of the Turkish Cypriots, there is not going to be a solution.
So could we all agree, though, that the reason why Turkey is here right now is because it is strategically important for Turkey and not for Turkish Cypriots?
Both. Both.
What do you think?
No way.
My personal view.
You think?
It's my
What do you
personal
I don't think so. Davutoglu has said so. The foreign minister of Turkey, the president,
No,
the
not
current
me.
prime
It's written
minister,
in a book.
he
It's
said
written in a
that
book.
even if there were no Turkish Cypriots here,
Turkey
we will
would be-
still need to take Cyprus over.
Turkey would still be
I
here.
agree with that. Even if there were no Turkish Cypriots, they would still interfere because it's a strategic
Place.
Island.
It's an asset
It's-
for them.
Costas, let me ask you something. I agree with you. Turkey troops must go their own country, yes? Tomorrow. Do you think that tomorrow will be the solution?
No,
Why?
because we still have to come together, and we still have to work out differences
As whom?
as Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots.
We need to have something like Nuremberg process here because we have people who killed, who raped, who attacked,
Exactly.
and they're still they're still like acting as if nothing happened, and some of them are still very proud of it that they did.
Who are those people that raped and killed and attacked?
Everybody. I mean,
both
everyone knows
communities.
about them.
Besides,
Everyone knows.
they're like, we have the crime, but we don't have the punishment.
I agree. Cyprus is the only country in the world that does not have a reconciliation commission in a case of conflict. So if you put it all in an agreed document, I think we can move on.
So what do you think is the solution?
I believe that both communities must understand that nobody will bring peace to this island. We have to keep our future in our hands, and we have to fight for it. If we don't fight for peace, it will not come.
I'd like first Turkey, secondly settlers to leave, then the Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots to decide for themselves what kind of future they want, and then the United Nations can go to hell.
In the past, people have cried and have celebrated together. We don't need to learn how to do that because we've already done it. We need to eliminate the foreign elements that are here, and actually, instead of philosophizing about what we need to do, actually do it.
Dervish.
My vision of the future is a united island of Cyprus consisting of two entities, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots, bi-zonal, bi-communal solution. Just and lasting solution.
I think one of the most beautiful things said at the table today is that you will all cry and celebrate together. So here it is, to crying and celebrating together.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To the buffer
Cheers.
zone.
To the buffer zone.
To the extinction of the buffer zone.
Buffer zone. Really, that was a spectacular meal. Why do you think that was?
I think getting to know the people here on the island, there was a responsibility to just prepare a meal that represented not one side or the other, but all sides together. For me, I came into this knowing that there were Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. And what I learned at the end of the meal was that there were just Cypriots.
This is such an idyllic and beautiful island that it becomes easy to forget that it's also a divided island. But one thing that struck me was that all the guests and all the people that we've met on this island, they all think that this division is temporary, and they all want Cyprus to one day be a united island.